This is a two-part series on advertising. Two parts because a lot has changed in advertising since the golden age of the 60s, 70s to the internet era in the mid-90s, which changed everything. Two part also because I'm very passionate about advertising, having worked in several agencies in Paris for many years, and also had a childhood based in advertising, the best that advertising could offer creatively then. So much that this is why I wanted to start a career in advertising and communication myself. Guys, my name is Eric Konig, and I have started this channel to share with you what I've learned during my career in branding, advertising, and graphic design, what I call brand communication. Today, we are going to talk about advertising. Advertising is everywhere. From being exposed to only 500 advertising messages in the 70s daily, today it's about 10,000 to 15,000 daily advertising messages we are all exposed to. Is that getting too much? That many messages means one every 10 seconds. Today, advertising agencies are no longer the go-to for advertising. Tech companies are. Facebook and Google are today by far the largest advertising company in the world and in history ever. So with so many advertising messages every day we are bombarded with, is that getting too much? Is advertising becoming a nuisance and a little bit too much of a good thing? Well, yes, but it doesn't mean that advertising is just bad. It is still an indispensable contributor to our economy, to any economy. And like most things, it just needs to be consumed in moderation. Every culture, every country has a soul and therefore a heart. It is the job of advertising to tune in on its people's pulse and accelerate it by appealing to our emotions. Advertising does not only help selling detergent, it is also at the roots of our democracy by informing or influencing people choices in their voting. It can also bring attention to social issues, health and diseases. Every continent, every culture advertise differently because their culture is different. Central European get to your head through your heartstring. Asian countries do the opposite and get to your heart via your head first through symbolism. The US, more pragmatic, go to your head first to get to your wallet next. And they go heavy and hard, WMD style. Some advertising campaigns become pop culture and part of our vernacular, our everyday language. In Australia, we have the Not Happy Jane in reference to an advert in the mid-2000s for the Yellow Pages. That clever advert was designed by Clemenger in Melbourne. Another good one is Start the Car, the IKEA advert from mid-2000. And that one was designed by Zik Inc. In Canada. Nike, Just Do It, in '98 was another famous one, which influences and inspired countless generations of weekend warriors. Advertising can be inspirational, funny, smart, witty, a catalyst of society's mood. In the 80s, mirroring MTV and the rise of beautifully filmed music segment and videos, top directors which will later film major movie features, started often in advertising, and the quality of filming was exceptional. A true piece of art and a real bit of entertainment. Copywriters for advertisements were true genius and would capture the art and attention of millions of people in just 30 seconds. This is a skill that is not to be underestimated. Today, which advertising is memorable? Which one brings a smile on your face when you are waiting for the train? Which one does capture your heart? In today's super crowded visual landscape, has advertising lost its edge and appeal? How, from being inspirational and memorable, has advertising become kind of a nuisance? Advertising is as old as the world, and despite a general expectation, modern advertising was not born in America. Advertising is as old as people needing to sell or exchange something. Egyptians used papyrus to make cell messages and wall posters. In 960 ancient China, an advertisement for the Liu family noodle house is the oldest known printed advertisement. Modern advertising began to take shape with the advent of newspapers and magazines in the 16th and 17th century. In 1631, Frenchman Théophraste Renaudot creates the Bureau de Rencontre et d'Adresse, the first office in charge of gathering and distributing advertising classifieds. In 1836, Émile Girardin, the editor of a Parisian newspaper called La Presse, was the first in the world to rely on paid advertisement to contribute to the cost of his publication and extend its readership and increase profitability. His idea was soon followed by all other publications worldwide and newspapers. In the US, in 1840, Volney B. Palmer was the first one to set up an advertising agency in Philadelphia. In 1865, Englishman Thomas James Barratt instituted a systematic method for advertising his own product, which was the Pears soap. In his advertising campaigns, memorable slogans and images were for the first time combined to great success. Edward Bernays was born in Austria, in Vienna, in 1891 and was also the nephew of Sigmund Freud, but is more known to be the father of modern propaganda, which he successfully used in America for advertising with advertising agencies, and was also the father of PR, public relations. He was inspired by earlier work from Frenchman Gustave Le Bon and Englishman Wilfred Trotter. In 1898, the world witnessed the very first advertising spot on a big screen in Paris for an advertisement for the painting product, a brand called Ripollin, and that was a short film made with a newly invented camera. In the 1920s, with the advent of radio station, advertising and advertisements benefited from the additions of sound and music, which helped the creation of catchy slogans and made them more memorable. By 2019, the worldwide spending on advertising has reached $560 billion. Today, advertising agencies are often organized together in huge conglomerate, international multinationals. You have Interpublic in the US, Omnicom in the US as well, Publicis in France, and WPP in Great Britain. The 60s were a time of societal transformation and gave rise to anti-establishment counterculture, alternative lifestyle and dynamic subcultures. Creativity was embraced everywhere. It flourished and everybody was freer to create. This cultural revolution helped advertising get to the next stage, the golden age of creation, made them very interesting, very unique, and at a level unsurpassed before and maybe today. More importantly, it also learned to create a bond between a product and its target audience, an emotional connection. It resulted in such a memorable campaign as the Avis car rental with their slogan, "Try harder," just to highlight that they were the number 2 behind Hertz and that they had to try harder to convince everybody that they were just as good or better. Another one was the iconic Volkswagen, advertising the little Volkswagen in a big poster in a very tiny Volkswagen and just said, "Think small." But the problem then, even if advertising was super creative and very interesting and beautiful, by then the methodology was not so rational, and often it was a bit of a trial and error instead of thorough research and market research. Some campaigns were financially disastrous and they failed to provide financial reward to their clients. Like the dot-com in the mid-90s and the cryptocurrency, all booms and fads at one stage ends. Advertising in the 60s and 70s was seen as a magic wand to make crazy money, transform any product into a money-making machine. A lot of ad agencies received a lot of money thrown at them, a lot of ad men on top of the tree were making insane amount of money. They were able to buy chateaus in France, vineyards in California. The money was everywhere. But eventually that has to come down. Everything that goes up got to come down. Internet came in the 90s and changed everything. It is properly a revolution. Such a big revolution that it's compared to the Industrial Revolution. It also eventually brought the downfall of advertising agencies. Tech companies took over as primary provider of advertising space. Today, Google and Facebook are the biggest advertising companies in the world and in history. Just like the Apple iPhone took over the telecommunication market from Nokia and BlackBerry, I remember that Nokia and all the telecom companies were laughing at Apple trying to create a new phone. Of course, they did not know the details of the phone, the iPhone. They were all laughing and telling Steve Jobs to stick making computers. That's the problem when you're on the top of the tree, when you are the leader of a market. You become complacent and a bit arrogant. Today, Google AdWords is the most efficient advertising method ever created. Efficient, but pretty dull and horrible. Google AdWords and others work on a digital platform, and tech companies understand digital platform because they created it. They control the means of production and the tools. Advertising agencies, traditional mass media broadcasting type of communication does not control this medium and therefore are left behind. But like we saw, advertisement as also the normal TV advertisement has also lost something fundamental, its authenticity. Authenticity has been replaced with visual pollution, invasion of our privacy and headspace. That also goes for digital platforms. The more spam we get in our email, the more banners we get on our websites, the more adverts we get during a video we are watching on the net, the more we feel used and the higher we raise our guard. Today, as much as 40–45% of people use ad blockers. This is on the rise. Even Apple is making it now standard on their web browser. For more than a decade now, everybody has been migrating away from free-to-air traditional broadcasting to a network like Netflix, where there is absolutely no advertising disturbing your viewing of a feature. Real advertising is so smart and funny, I still love it. I grew up in Paris, and there was this festival called the La Nuit des Publivores, the night of the ad eaters. And we were just watching advertising spots one after the other for 5 hours. Those spots were from all over the world, and I absolutely adored that show. I was there every year in a huge cinema, thousands of people sitting there and watching spots after spots, and we loved it. The quality, the content was fantastic. Have a look at a few favorites to show you how advertising can be so exciting and why I just love it. See you next time.
Here's your receipt. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Jan? Where's our ad in the Yellow Pages directory?
Keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Jan!
It's a big ad, it's a big ad. My God, it's big. Can't believe how big.